What's up everybody, welcome to AdoramaXP, I'm Josh Saleh. The Video Game Awards happen every year, and within that award ceremony they choose the Game of the Year. Some years, everyone agrees that the Game of the Year is the right choice. Other years, not so much. Starting with 2021, we're going to go down and choose the games that have been snubbed, and most importantly decide if the Game of the Year was the actual correct choice in the Game of the Year. Well, let's get into it. The winner of the 2021 Game of the Year went to It Takes Two, developed by Hazelight Studios and published by EA. A game without microtransactions from EA? Unheard of. But before we dive into the winner, let's talk about the nominees. Nominated for the 2021 Game of the Year award were Deathloop, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. This was the first year that next-gen games were nominated, and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart was the only game from next-gen. You could make a case for each of these games to be nominated, however, I do think there was one game that deserved a nomination more than others. Let's start with Deathloop, a first-person shooter developed by Arcane Studios, published by Bethesda. Fans of Dishonored were very eager and excited for a new game within that world, and we didn't get one. Deathloop felt like a step back from Dishonored. You play as Colt, who is an assassin stuck in a time loop, and much of the storyline and mechanics of the game felt muddled. I never felt like I had a grasp of what was going on, and when I wanted to explore the world, I was forced to follow a linear path. The levels got repetitive, the AI felt weak, and the gunplay didn't feel smooth. There were a lot of issues with Deathloop, and based on the reviews, a lot of people agreed. On Metacritic, Deathloop on PS5 scored an 88 with critics and a 6.5 with users. That's a big difference. So it makes you wonder how Deathloop got nominated for Game of the Year. If it was up to me, I wouldn't have nominated Deathloop. There's a big gap between the critic and the user score, which kind of makes you feel a little bit suspicious. Also, it wasn't very well optimized on PC. There was a lot of issues when it first came out that had to be fixed later on with patches and updates. I would in fact have replaced Deathloop with Returnal. Returnal was completely innovative and smooth, plus they just recently dropped more content and now you can play co-op. An incredibly fast-paced third-person shooter, this game was incredible, and it was a next-gen game. It's only available on PlayStation 5, so you can really see the graphics, the load times, and that DualSense controller really showcasing the PlayStation 5. Yes, the storyline was a little bit muddled and didn't really make a lot of sense unless you dived really deep into the lore, but I think Returnal deserved a nomination over Deathloop. Anytime Nintendo puts out a game, there is a high chance it will be nominated for Game of the Year. When Nintendo releases a Metroid game 19 years later, it's almost a given. This might not have been Metroid 4, which fans are still desperately waiting for, but this is still a magnificent Metroid game. Developed by Mercury Steam, you play as the famous Samus Aran in a 2D platformer. It's the fastest selling Metroid game in Japan, the UK, and the US, and is the second best selling Metroid game behind Metroid Prime. Now, Metroid Dread added EMMI robots, enemies that you need to sneak around and run from, and some fans enjoyed this new element while others thought it hindered exploration. Well, the users and critics both agreed that this game hovers around an 8.8. Now, the reception of this game was fairly positive, and I believe it deserves a nomination. But there is another side to this. Was this game nominated just because it's a Metroid game and it's been 19 years? Or is it actually deserving of it? I personally think with this one that they added Metroid as a nomination just because of the Metroid name. It holds a lot of power. And I think when a new Metroid game comes out after 19 years, you kind of have that nostalgia factor to it. You want it to do well. You want to nominate it. You want it to even win, possibly. Nintendo has such a huge fan base. So did it deserve the nomination? Possibly. But then again, you're adding a lot of games to this nomination list, and if you were to remove some, I think removing Metroid Dread would be okay. The long-awaited Psychonauts 2, developed by Double Fine Productions. The first game, Psychonauts, came out in 2005 and was incredibly innovative, mesmerizing, and unique. It's been 16 years since the release of the first game, which makes you wonder, did it have the same Metroid Dread effect, nominated for nostalgia, or did it deserve its nomination? Well, Psychonauts is an adventure game where you play as Raz, a spy with psychic abilities. And what Psychonauts does so well is the way you literally get into the mind of your enemies and see their trauma. These games do a beautiful job of shining a light on psychoanalysis and what makes people do the things they do. The art, soundtrack, writing, and design of this game is one to be remembered. But in a time where next-gen games are being released, sometimes the graphics felt a bit outdated. Now, we're not playing this game for the graphics. Psychonauts was never known for its graphics. It's known for its art and its beautiful design and level design. But I do think this game deserved a nomination because it shows that gamers want more of these types of games. Strong, single-player storylines, memorable characters, and unique levels. Games where it's more than just the gameplay. You're getting into the minds of the characters that you're playing as and you're playing with. A jaw-dropping display of PlayStation 5's power. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, developed by Insomniac Games, was absolutely stunning. Being able to rift in levels without a loading screen showed what next-gen is truly capable of. In this third-person shooter, you play as Ratchet and Rivet as you go about saving the multiverse. Smooth, fast-paced action made this game a strong contender, and to many fans, this became their favorite Ratchet and Clank game. And no surprise, it truly is remarkable. This game is a fun ride, and the amount of weapon choices, combos, and traversal, the game kept on giving. There is no doubt that this game deserved the Game of the Year nomination, and had a very good chance of even winning Game of the Year. If it wasn't for It Takes Two. The best Resident Evil game ever. Resident Evil Village, developed by Capcom, took the best pieces of Resident Evil 4 and made a masterpiece. In my opinion, Resident Evil 7 was too grotesque to a point that it was kind of hard to watch what you were doing. In Village, you play as Ethan Winters in search of your kidnapped daughter, and the game takes you through this village filled with beasts, vampires, and a walking placenta out to kill you. Yes, a moving placenta out to kill you. Village focused more on combat and exploration, which immersed you into the game. With a strong supporting cast, a graphically gorgeous game, and a beautiful level design, Resident Evil Village definitely deserved the nomination. It seems Capcom has found the missing ingredient to the Resident Evil recipe, and it just goes to show how excited we are for the supposed DLC. Now this brings us back to the winner. It Takes Two, an online or split-screen cooperative game for 2 players. Now you play as Cody and May, a married couple going through a divorce. When their daughter Rose finds out, she wishes her parents can repair their marriage. Cody and May both turn into dolls and must work together to get back to their bodies. This is one of the most endearing games I've played. It Takes Two wears its heart on its sleeve, and the best part is, you're playing alongside someone. Each level is beautifully crafted, gameplay is smooth, and writing is engaging and funny. This game took a risk. A game that forces you to play multiplayer either with someone you know or don't, not a lot of games would go for that. It Takes Two deserved this win as it stood above the rest. I love how you had to rely on your partner for action-packed moments, and I'll never forget killing an elephant, Rose's favorite stuffed animal, by throwing it off a tower. I hope this shows EA and the gaming world that we need more games like this. A strong storyline, memorable characters, creative level design, and just all-out fun gameplay. Congrats to It Takes Two. We can't wait for what Hazelight Studios does next. The craziest part is that when Cyberpunk 2077 was announced, everyone thought it was an instant nominee, if not instant Game of the Year, until it came out. Which is just goes to show how crazy our minds can just change like that based on what we see in trailers to when the game actually releases. Another game that I thought was incredibly underrated during the Video Game Awards in 2021 was Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. It was an incredibly heartfelt game with so much great story and character building and graphically impressive game and art style. It was really stunning, and I think it doesn't get as much love as it should. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think was snubbed during the 2021 Video Game Awards, and what game you think should have won the Game of the Year award, if not It Takes Two. Make sure to check out our Twitch and Discord, all links right down there in the description. We'll see you next time when we talk about 2020. Peace.